Do hypercars have a place in Ibiza? I've largely stayed away from hypercars and test drive limited solar crowd. I don't enjoy using them for the most part. I think the handling dynamics of them are kind of unbalanced and is not something I've enjoyed using all too much. As of yet, not used them in Ibiza. So for today's video, guys, we're going to explore the hypercars that I personally have in game and see if they're actually usable in Ibiza. Now, we'll kick things off today in the Porsche 918. We'll start off with the Champions Parade, a 3.1 mile race, 100% asphalt in the hypercar category, 900 to 950 RP. Now, of course, there has been a lot of chatter. Many people feel that the 918 has indeed been nerfed. I've got a split opinion on this. I've not used it all too much, so today we're going to find this one out. Has it been nerfed? Has there been a big change to the 918? Again, we'll launch it off the line. We have got the hybrid assist here, so we know when that kicks in, we're going to get a good lead. We want to be first into this very first turn, the AI bunching up on one another there, into the right-hander again. We want to send this one out nice and quickly, try to stretch a lead on the rest of the pack there, because the chances are on this next left-hander after the right-hander here, we're going to get dive bombed from the AI. It happens on every race, regardless of class here. We do get into it with a nice lead, however, though, committing through the double left-hander, maybe committing a little too much and taking out the street furniture on the right-hand side. But we've got a good lead. We can get the power down, getting very unsettled in the 918 on these street surfaces here, but it's a different dynamic. Into the right-hander, slowing down just enough, as we know that this one does tighten up. The Porsche is actually handling it fantastically well. Again, braking just enough for that tight right-hander there. It opens up on us so we can commit coming out of that one. Power is firmly back down, but we want to prepare for coming through that little courtyard of the gas station, the fuel station. It's very unsettling for any vehicle. The Porsche so far is handling everything absolutely fantastic. Nice and wide to the right hand side here to cut in through the left hander nice and steadily. We can take out those railings. We just missed the house, the building on the right hand side through the little chicane there, and we come back onto the road surface. In through the left hander, nice and tight to the wall on the left side, but unfortunately we overextend and we do hit that outside right wall, and again nice and tight to these right handers. Into the left hander, we clip the wall, unfortunately just again into another left hander here. It does seem maybe the Porsche is a bit wide, a bit long for these kind of races. Cutting back on ourselves here through the right hander, get the power down nice and early. The Porsche is actually fantastically stable on these surfaces, on these races, or this race so far, and we'll get the power down, guys. We've got about 20% left of this one. Fully committing through the big right hander here, slowing down just in time for this right hander. We just missed that wall and no more. Through this little left-hander, and it is now full commit, or we try to fully commit towards the finish line. We know how tight this little bit is here. Taking any of those plant pots on the left or right hand side will slow us down and we unsettle the vehicle to cross the line. So for the first race there, I have no complaints for the 918. It handled everything fantastically well. It's my first experience of hypercars on the Ibiza map. I'm not going to limit us to the 918 for today. I'm going to experience a couple of other cars before we round out today's video. But so far, I'm going to have to say I actually enjoy using the hypercar in Ibiza, and it's not something I thought I was going to say. It is only one race, it is only one car so far, but for the level of dislike, I'm going to say, that I had for hypercars on Hong Kong Island, I couldn't gel with them. I don't have a rhyme or reason behind it. I just personally couldn't gel using the hypercars. The handling model specifically didn't feel great with them. They were too fast. For what it was, we were doing street racing. It's not something I enjoyed. However, bring it over to Ibiza, the tighter maps, the more precision that we do need, I've actually enjoyed using the Porsche just there. So we'll move over to the second race for today, the Highway to Hell 850 to 900 RP hypercar category. Again, it's 100% asphalt, 5.7 mile race, and we'll move out of the 918 for this one, guys. We'll move into probably one of the favoured hypercars, I would say, by many in the game so far. And of course, what we will jump into is the Bugatti Veyron 16.4. We know we're going to launch off the line phenomenally well. Tons of power this one has. We want to try get to turn 1 and turn 2 first. We unfortunately don't get there first. We have got Anaya in first place there. We know how this this couple of corners to start this race goes, the AI tend to dive bomb us or stop in the middle of the track there. But as we get past them, we want to stay to the right hand side. Go around these roundabouts on the right hand side appears to be and is simply the fastest way of getting round those very strange screen movements there. Not lag, it was just like the pictures weren't rendering quickly enough. But again, staying to the right hand side of the roundabouts is the fastest way to kick this race off. The Veyron handling it absolutely fantastically well. Again, staying to the right hand side, nice and fast through that roundabout. We want to then cut back across the track here to get ready for the right hander that is coming up ahead. It's very strange, it's this track specifically, I've had it on every time I've done it. We've had a bit of judder through the screen, like the picture's not rendering quite quick enough. We only just make that corner. Very interesting. Keep an eye on that one going forward. It does appear that I have now managed to balance out the graphic settings since the update for Season 2. Kind of touched on this a couple of videos ago, that the launch of Season 2 has completely reset all of the... That was a messy turn there. It has completely reset all of the graphic settings that I have had. I obviously tailored mine to the machine that I've got. It does appear I have now managed to tailor them back to where it is I want them to be. Back to the race itself though, we know what's coming up ahead, guys. A very tricky turn. Let's see how the Veyron handles this one out. Slowing down just enough for the double left-hander. There's a little kink in the road just about here that does unsettle the vehicle. In through the left-hander, right-hander, back through the left-hander. Another kink here that will unsettle us, and we'll push back up onto the freeway section just nice and tight through that left-hander, missing the inside wall. But from here on out, it's foot to the floor. We'll open up the Veyron and we'll see just how quickly we can get this thing to the finish line. We have got about 20% of this race left, but we've got a 17-second lead on the rest of the pack. The AI not proving much of a challenge at all, as we do hit 230 miles an hour up into 6th gear, that is 240 miles an hour, and we will cross the line, take out a nice easy win for the second race for today. So another one I cannot have any complaints with. The hypercar category on Ibiza, dare I say it, might actually be a winner. I quite enjoy using these ones so far. We've used the 918, we have used the Veyron so far. There's only one other hypercar that I do have in the garage so far. There are a couple I'm looking at, but as it currently stands, I've not invested the money into the hypercar category. It's, like I mentioned earlier, it's not been something I have largely enjoyed. I've put the money more into daily drivers, the supercars, the cross-country cars, and of course the Grand Tourers. Perhaps I need to start investing a little more into hypercars. But we'll move on. We'll go over to race number 3. We will of course jump into the, what's this one? Through the parks of Dalt via 3.2 mile hypercar race, 750 to 850 RP, 100% asphalt of course it is. And we'll jump into something a little bit more livelier, a little bit more leery, a bit wider and a bit longer. Probably the biggest hypercar that I have got. It's going to be the Apollo Intenza Nozione, of course, this being the hypercar that was given to us in the last season. We do unfortunately start quite an unfortunate place there behind the rest of the pack, but we can dive to the right hand side here, cut round the rest of the pack and get ourselves up into first place. Into our first right hand at the back end, really stepping out. In the Apollo, we do touch the wall. We're trying to create a gap here to get rid of the rest of the pack, as we will get dive bomb in a little corner coming up right here. Tend to get dive bomb from the AI, so we've managed to get round that one alright. Just managing to keep the Apollo under control. Of course, rear wheel drive hypercar, tons of power through those rear wheels. I have had to up the stability control just a little bit to try and get this thing to put the power down nice and early. As this starts to tighten up, it's going to get interesting with the Apollo. We do actually manage that little section there alright. Had trouble with that one previously. Up into the hairpin, how do we manage this one? Touch the handbrake. Oh, that was actually alright there. We were nice and tight coming around that hairpin. As we come uphill, a little bit of understeer with the Apollo is not fantastic, and you know for a fact we're going to get understeers. We do start to come downhill here. Any power we try to put down, even having increased stability control on this thing, it's still trying to oversteer. We're still trying to put the back end of it out. It's the nature of the beast with a rear wheel drive hypercar. But we're managing all right so far. We'll push forward up into the hairpin that's up ahead here. It's an interesting one, as it's quite a quick hairpin that does open and tighten. Bit of a rally terminology there, but it's quite a tricky one to get the Apollo round. Up into this little right hander, we fully commit. We do actually lift just a little bit, but committing as much as we can. Getting ready for the little right hand 90 just here. Nice and tight with that one, actually. We do handle that one all right. up into the left-hander, and again I thought we were going to hit the wall there, but we just managed to get that front end corrected round. As we do come in through this little path section, I didn't know how the Apollo was going to handle it, but for the most part it handled it alright, apart from my driving, missing the braking zone and touching the wall. Now things get really tight with the Apollo. How are we going to get the big Batmobile through this part? Left hand, right hand chicane, preparing for another left hand, right hand chicane. Oh, the inside wall there just pushing us wide onto the left hand wall, but overall we managed to get the Apollo through there quite well. In downhill, through the little right hand, a little bit of handbrake there to try and get the back end of the Apollo round it. Power down now. Prepare for the double left-hander. How are we going to achieve this one? Not too well. We do unfortunately choose the wrong gear for that one, and we're not the quickest to round out, but overall the Apollo actually managed that race not too badly. I do think the 918 Porsche might have been a better choice for that race, but I wanted to keep this as diverse as possible, use as many hypercars for the races as I possibly could. But you know, as we kind of started off today's video, it was talking about, has the Porsche 918 been nerfed? Judging by today's races that I have, you know, felt with the Porsche, we're going to finish off with another race for today. I would have to say I don't think it has been nerfed. Perhaps the difference with the classes, the RP, sorry, that we're experiencing with the Porsche not being at 1000 or 1100, rather 900, many people might be feeling differently. For me, I actually think it feels much the same. But we'll finish off today with the trip around the peninsula, that 2-lap race, 850 to 900 RP here. We know what this race is all about, and I think this is going to be a good test and a good way to round out today's video in the Porsche 918. What was kind of talk about before we came into the race was obviously, has the Porsche been nerfed? I don't think it has. I actually think it feels much the same. Of course, we've not done many big races over in Hong Kong, we might have to go back and try it, but this race in particular is going to be a good test for the 918. Again, we want to get into turn 1 in first place, as we're going to get dive bombed from the rest of the pack round this one. Let the back end flow on us, get on the power nice and early. I have just realised that I unfortunately left stability control on for this one. Typically don't use it in a Porsche, but we had it turned on for using the Apollo in the last race. We have still got it turned on for this one, so maybe a little bit of a cheat code here for the 918. I try not to use stability control where possible, but it's actually proving quite well. As we're coming through some of these trickier sections, the tighter turns, here as we get the power down nice and early in the Porsche, we're not having any laziness, any step outs from the back end. Like that little section there, as we come through the alleyway, we know it's typically quite tough for these cars to get round, especially this little section here. But having the added, you know, added stability control on in the Porsche, it's actually proving to be quite worthy and quite worthwhile to have it turned on. Struggling with words today, guys, I do apologise. Cut back on ourselves through the hairpin, come down the tunnel, let's see how it gets through this little tight section coming up. We do go in a little bit heavy, but we've actually managed to carry quite a lot of speed through that one, in through the double left-handers, and we'll fully send this one all the way, essentially all the way to the finish line. Round the big left-hander, we go very wide there. Wasn't confident we weren't going to hit that wall. Wait to the last lamppost, touch on the brakes, lift off the throttle, fully send it into the last chicane. We're fully committing, guys. We're not holding back with the 918 so far out, crossing out lap number 1 with an 11.5 second lead. Into turn 1, again heavy onto the brakes, maybe a little bit too slow into that one, but we're all right. Through turn 2, power down nice and early once again, and we can see once again that the rest of the pack are crossing out to finish off race lap number 1 there. Back uphill, get ready for that little crest. The Porsche actually handling the crest on that hill not too bad, into the left-hander, into another left-hander, a little bit heavy, slowing down just in time not to hit the wall. Double right-hander right here, so that's a treble right-hander, isn't it? We come back on ourselves through turn the second right-hander into the third right-hander, unfortunately taking out the inside wall, but we're preparing for that little alleyway, and the 918's handling it absolutely fantastic well. As the course starts to tighten up through here, the little slalom through the wall, just kissing it no more, not losing any time with the 918 as we come downhill into our first hairpin. Do we touch the handbrake? We have to touch the handbrake. We do lock up coming up into that one. Backing ourselves with another right hand hairpin, back on the power there. The Porsche is absolutely fantastic in this race, guys. I don't know why, you know, the thought process just now is that the 918 has been nerfed. This far out, I think this thing is absolutely fantastic. Might be an unpopular opinion, you guys can let me know in the comment section. But I actually really enjoy using the 918, especially on this race, fully committing into the last right-hander into the chicane there. We're getting brave for the 918. It's going to be interesting. Is there any cars waiting at the finish line? Not this time out. There was a car up in the distance, but we know with this race in particular, the AI tend to be sitting at the finish line as we cross out the race. So to kind of summarise there, hypercars, didn't enjoy using them over in Hong Kong Island, and this is something I never thought I was going to say. I enjoy using hypercars on the Ibiza map so far. Might be a hot take, might be an unpopular opinion. You guys can let me know, have you used the hypercars over in Ibiza yet? Have you been enjoying it? Let me know in the comment section down below, guys. Once again, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Stay tuned for more updates on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.